Hello and welcome back to the Play Base. I'm your host, Frances Fishman, and today I have a very special guest. Her name is Nicole Pekerman, and I can't explain how excited I am because I have known Nicole not in person, but I've known her over the phone, over Zoom, over Instagram, over everything, but not in person until right now.
Yay!
And my heart is bursting. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so excited. I feel the same way. I was driving over here with a smile on my face saying, oh my God, I'm going to meet Frances. Like, this is so exciting because just like you said, over Zooms and phone calls and, through text, and we've almost made it happen a couple times.
I know. Almost got families together. And then children get sick. And,
I know.
That's just how it goes.
Boca living versus Hollywood living.
Yes.
I feel you.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here.
Yay.
And I have a very, more so outside of the box of what most of my episodes will be like episode.
Cool.
So Nicole is in a really cool space, one that is of interest to me. And one of the things that appeals to me about my work and your work, and they're kind of like how they merge, is that I work with behavior change. Not so good at behavior change for myself, but I work in behavior change, right?
Yes.
I help children develop skills. I help families. We coach educators. We train in schools. We do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
I work with parents on their parenting, not on their own self-help elements. I often refer them out for that. But why don't you tell us a little bit about you, because you actually have such a beautiful background. I know you're the queen. I want to hear a little bit about,
Where's my crown?
It's there.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Amazing. So I'm Nicole Pekerman. I am so excited to be here. I'm the founder of Health Collective. So Health Collective is a concierge wellness practice that really helps people kind of rewrite their health stories. And a lot of that is with behavior change. And some of that is with peptides. That's why people call me the peptide princess.
Queen. Oh, princess. Sorry.
It's alliteration. It's alliteration. We love it. I could be the queen. I could be as long as we're royalty at the end of the day, right?
Love it.
But yeah, so, in terms of people, we all kind of struggle with habits, and we feel like, our willpower is not good enough, or, we're just not strong enough to change. But the reality is just there are a few tools, and I kind of have some pillars when it does come to lasting change. And some of that does start with, for me in my practice, biology alignment and really aligning, everything from hormones to sleep to metabolic blocks. And I think it's similar for even parenting behavior. Like, if we're not good within ourselves, if we're not feeling confident, if we're not feeling comfortable, if we're not feeling rested, how can we parent in an optimal way, particularly when, you might be prescribing a particular, protocol.
Yeah.
And, if a parent is not feeling great in their own skin or in their own mind, they can't continue on with that protocol, right? So biology is so important. Habit design is kind of the second thing we do. And we really talk to people about what is it that you don't like from a habitual perspective. Is it when it comes to diet and exercise, for example, is it, saying I have no time? Well, let's find the time. Let's find a behavior that can give you the time. Is it, I come home at the end of the day, I am stressed. I've dealt with everything from career to parenting. I've worked out. I've cooked meals. I've cleaned. I've done laundry. At the end of the day, I just want to sit on my couch and eat my snacks in peace. And so sometimes those snacks can sabotage, right?
Yep.
So how do we fix that specific habit with habit design? And then honestly, rewriting your story. Like, a lot of people are like, I just don't have willpower. I just don't have time. I'm just not good at this. No, you have time, you have willpower, you are good at this. Let's rewrite the narrative, and neurologically too, that you have in your head. Because if that becomes a positive narrative, I actually have a ton of willpower. I'm actually really good at this. I actually had a win the other day about this. That can help with habit creation and formation.
There are so many things that you spoke about, which is why I really knew that I wanted to have you on.
Yay!
Because there are so many things that you spoke about that I can flip to say we do with kids.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is so interesting. Like, the idea of affirmations, for instance, right? The idea of confidence, of believing in yourself, of changing your story or your narrative. And the narratives can be narratives we've created or narratives that have been imposed, like stories that have been imposed upon us. Like
1000%.
People think I'm bad or I can't do X, Y, or I've been told I am lazy or I'm this, or like all these things, right? Then become our own inner voice. And then as we grow, and I think one of the hardest things about working with adults, and I say this all the time, is that our behavior patterns are more deeply entrenched.
Yes, so ingrained.
Yes, it becomes, it's not like a question of whether I am this way. It is that I am this way because I have always been. I don't know myself in a different way. And to change is like, I don't know, lifting an extra 50, 100 pounds at the gym. It's not like lifting another 2 or 5 or 10. It's like, you're asking me to lift 500 pounds. I can't.
Right.
That's what it feels like. It feels impossible, even though it's not.
It's definitely not. And, you know, I always say to people, if your story doesn't change, your habits won't either. So, you know, I love that, you know, I myself, so going way back, a narrative that I had about myself since I was probably like 14, 15, when I was a lot heavier, was I had a boy that I liked in high school tell me like I was kind of pretty, but I was just too big for him, too fat for him. Like he told me that to my face, right? And so when
Did you hit him?
I didn't hit him. I think I just was in shock that he had like the
audacity to say that.
But I think I was just shocked and embarrassed. And I remember, firstly, that narrative became me. Like I became that narrative. I was like, yeah, I might be cute, but like I am fat. I'm not worthy. No one would want to have a relationship with me. And honestly, that narrative still sometimes plays in my head. And from that moment, literally from that one moment, I, started to change the way I exercised, the way I ate, to the point where it was disordered eating and it was bad for me and it was unhealthy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, as soon as I started to change that narrative, like I am not defined by my size or my body or the fact that, I can be a really smart, interesting individual, particularly as I grew into, graduating from university, getting into a career and understanding that, my worth was more than just like my size. So that narrative was so hard to break. But then once you break free and break through, you feel like you're no longer lifting the 500 pounds. You feel light as a feather. You feel like you can float into the world. It's amazing.
I actually, as you're speaking, can think of every single person I know who's been told something in their life that became a truth, whether it be true or not, became something they repeated to themselves so many times that it became their truth. How do you go through the process of breaking such a thought that it's been repeated more than a million times?
More than a million times.
More than a million times, for sure. That's a lot of repetition.
It's a lot
and
of
we
repetition.
know that learning requires repetition, requires time. How do you break a thought that I'll tell you, I had 3 kids back to back. I had 4 pregnancies, 3 children in 3 years.
That's a lot. It's a lot on your body.
And in my first pregnancy, at the beginning of my pregnancy, I was like, I still got abs a little bit at the beginning, right?
Yes.
And I was like, I was a dancer. I taught dance. I was so active. I had a personal trainer. And in my head, it was like, I don't want to end up overweight after having kids.
Right.
It was like that thought was on repeat. But if you think about also the energy of words, it wasn't like, don't become fat. That became the energy. The energy was just like I kept repeating that over and over again.
And also that builds fear, right?
Correct. And resistance and all of that. And it's just the energy that goes out into the world. That went over into my head over and over again. And from the time that I got pregnant until today, and I've recently shared this with you, that I look in the mirror and I go, who is that lady? I don't know you. And there's like a disconnect, right? But that's also something that I have repeated to myself over and over again. And I recently There's somebody who I follow on Instagram. Also, I've never met her in person, but I've interacted with her many times over social media. Who recently lost a bunch of weight through a program.
Okay.
And one of the things that she said was that before she was able, and it's not like she was overweight, she just didn't feel good in her body.
Right.
But what changed for her was what she was telling herself when she looked in the mirror. That was the first thing that she was able to do to create a shift.
Yeah. I cannot
And that's exactly
stress that
what
enough.
you just said.
It's so incredibly important. And I'm a big believer of progress over perfection. We're never going to be perfect, but those small little hits of positivity, that dopamine hit, is so incredibly important. And at the beginning, it doesn't even have to do directly with what it is that you're struggling with. You know, at first, when I was struggling with my body, I kind of separated my body from other things that I could achieve while going forward and after my goal, so weight loss. So for example, I may not have liked how I looked, but I could run fast as bleep, okay? So I would go to the gym and I would run my little heart out and I would say, you know what? I'm a fast runner. I'm really good at running. I love running. I love feeling the adrenaline. And that small little baby hit of dopamine, that small little positive thought entered my mind. And then, you know, those small little things started to add up. And, you know, then it was like, you know what? I had a really good week this week. I, you know, cooked for myself. I ate healthy foods. I started to learn about nutrition. So it was no longer I am fat. It was like, wow, I now understand what net carbs means and how that can impact me moving forward as I nourish my own body and then eventually help others understand how to optimally nourish theirs. So these little hits of positivity and positive thinking can evolve. So, you know, maybe TMI for my daughter, and I'm really sorry. But so my daughter, in my eyes, she's my child and I know her flaws and I know her, you know, positive points. She's a beautiful girl inside and out. I'm not saying that just because I'm her mom. And recently she was like struggling with something that was, you know, visual, like on her body, on her face, whatever. And I said to her, we're going to do an exercise. I'm going to come into your room every night, whether you like it or not. She's a teenager. Sometimes she doesn't. And we're going to say 10 positive things. And you're going to look at yourself in the eyes, in the mirror, and you're going to say, whatever it is, I have beautiful green eyes. I did great on my math test. I did this, or I appreciate that. And slowly, that negative perception that she had built up in her head started to maybe a little bit dismantle. And I'm not saying it's a non-issue, but it can be diffused a little by changing the narrative, changing the story, and truly starting to appreciate, like, thank you, body, thank you, legs, thank you, lungs, thank you, heart, for helping me run at a 10.0 speed and feel like I am so powerful. Thank you. And then you're like, oh my God, my body did that. So that's not my body being fat or not good enough, like that boy said. That's my body doing amazing, cool things that I can appreciate. And I'll tell you, in 40s, I definitely appreciate being able to run because, like, oi, my knee hurts and, like, oi, my back hurts. You know, every day that I'm able to run, I literally say, thank you, legs. Thank you, lungs. Thank you, back, for not giving out for real, because it's like, you know, you got to be thankful. And that gratitude is everything.
I totally agree. I actually am thinking about when I do training for teachers or for my staff, I do mindfulness exercises.
Okay.
And one of the things that I feel really called to talk about when I'm running one, I do like a very brief little meditation. And I thank our beating heart when I say, your heart just beats for you.
I love
all day.
That.
You're not conscious of it. It just does it.
I love that.
And it's like when you think about the things that you can be grateful for. And like Tony Robbins talks about how when you're in the space of gratitude, you can't be in a negative space. If you're at least present in the gratitude and not like BS gratitude, like I'm grateful the sun is shining, great, right? But like if you're like, wow, I live in Florida and the sun is shining. And if you're in Toronto today,
snowing.
Today is December 11th as we speak.
Yes.
it snowed. And I spoke to my dad this morning, who's flying here today.
Yay.
Who told me how cold it was.
Mm.
And I said, you know what? Today in Florida, it's chilly too, but not the same.
Not the same.
And I am grateful when I see the palm trees. And that's like just environmental. That's not even like within me. And when I can sit in that, I'm like, the way that I feel just feels lighter.
Yes.
And when you think about changing the narrative to gratitude for yourself, I remember there was a point in my life where I was really struggling. And I changed the narrative when I was at the gym. Instead of being at the gym to beat myself up for what I did the day before, the days prior, or for not doing X, Y, and Z,
right.
I would lift the weights or I would do the exercise and I would say, thank you. Thank you for being strong.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me get through this. Now, I didn't maintain that. And I think consistency is key to change.
Yes.
In any sort of change in your life, whether that be, so habits require consistency. Like you need to have that.
Absolutely.
And the way we speak to ourselves is also a habit.
It's a major habit. So I can completely relate. And I think from a parenting perspective, again, like I'll share, Marky has type 1 diabetes. And I have health anxiety just because like my dad died when I was really young. Lots of like little things happened where my biggest fear was having my child get sick or have a disease. Right. And it happened. And it broke me to the point where I was depressed. I wasn't myself. I was anxious. I was scared. And I still am some of those things. But I went into this negative spiral. And I would say 2 years ago, Mike was like, you're not the same person you were. Like, you need to change. You can't change the fact that he has type 1 diabetes. Like, we can't, there's no cure. There's no fix. Like, you need to shed this heaviness, this depression, this sadness. And I will tell you that my gratitude and prayer practice changed that. So I wrote down some things that I was happy for or grateful for. And I say it every night. And if I'm up at night and I can't sleep and all the negative thoughts start to ruminate in my head, I just go through my list of everything that I'm happy and grateful for. And yes, he has type 1 diabetes, but is he thriving with that diagnosis? Yes, he is. So I'm happy and grateful that he is thriving despite having type 1 diabetes. I am happy and grateful that my daughter is healthy, that my husband is healthy, like that we have this beautiful life in Florida, right? So I can tell you as a living, breathing example of how I was a shell of myself. Yeah. And how, honestly, the one thing that I changed is the gratitude and how I'm honestly waking up happier. I am more positive. And of course, like in scary health moments, of course, I can revert back to that old Nicole. But at the end of the day, I am actively trying, and that consistency is now maybe a year and a half to 2 years later paying off. So that's consistency beautiful. Is super key. Yes. And even for parents, right? Like if you're trying to get parents to change, how is their psyche with whatever it is that their child is dealing with? Do they feel guilt? Do they feel it's difficult? Like what are they into? And how can they, break that habit or that negative narrative of whatever they're dealing with as a parent who's trying to help their child in any way possible? And how can they change the narrative in a consistent way to not only unlock themselves, but unlock everything for the child?
I totally agree. And I think as a parent, both of us, and I don't know if you agree with me, but for me, one of the things that I carry is guilt or shame. Right? I think it's like I
think it's Jewish guilt. I think it's like all we have. I think it's what I was raised on.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I connect to in a lot of the parents that I work with is this fear. I did something to cause this. This shame that there's something wrong with my child or me or with the way I parent. Like sometimes parents don't let us into their home.
Wow.
Won't allow us to coach them, like are resistant to that.
Really?
And I feel, I respect that, you know, I'm not pushing my way in. But the impact that you can make, like if you think about, and I think we spoke about this too when we were talking about my own habits, is that if you're doing it with somebody, you're not doing it in a bubble. You're not figuring it out for yourself, but like your environment is creating a space that actually makes this conducive for you.
Yes.
Your environment is supportive of you. Your environment understands or is doing it literally with you at the same time. The impact of that, the effectiveness of what you're doing is like 100 times more.
Oh my God.
So when you have a child who is working towards something and that happens in that bubble, the effectiveness doesn't necessarily seep into all the areas of their life because the environments are not always conducive or are not always on the same page or are trying with their own different, you know, limitations or restrictions or whatever that may be, because we all have them.
We all have them. Absolutely.
And so I love that you speak about that because, you know, if I'm thinking about changing my own behavior, which I think is hilarious, but like, I'm like, please, Nicole,
the behavior change expert,
help me change my eating behavior, my health behavior, because it's not working for me. And I like sit there and I remember speaking to you and you saying things to me being like, hey, that makes total sense. Yeah.
You're like, I teach that to a lot of people.
And it was like, oh yeah, okay. But if you think about like the foundations of behavior change, right?
Yes.
Behavior is learned through motivation, right? What motivated me to do things? Behavior is learned through repetition, through reinforcement. Something was reinforced over time. Even if it wasn't real reinforcement, it was like I had a thought, I had an insecurity, and then somebody called it out.
Yeah.
And now you reinforce that insecurity. Now it's true.
Now it's true.
Thank you. And now I'm going to reinforce it 1,000,000 times over, more than anyone else on the planet can reinforce a negative thought.
We are sometimes our own worst enemy when it comes to that. Yes.
We are. And there's just like such magic in having a community or a person or an environment that embraces what you're experiencing and working together towards something. So like, something I really need to get back to is one of my closest friends in Toronto. We used to do gratitude every morning or every night before she would go to bed. And when I woke up to go to the gym in the morning, she would write me and I would write her. She'd write me 3 things she's grateful for and I would write her. We haven't done it in a long time. I'm going to message her today and we're going to start it back up because it's like to be able to consistently be in that. And whether it be about, you know, if my goal is around my body, it doesn't have to revolve all around my body. No,
of course not.
But it can, you know, systematically lead into that.
Yes.
And that is a pattern of behavior.
It's
you know,
so
positive
true.
Thoughts are a pattern of behavior.
Yes.
And it's so, I'd love to hear more about, so we don't have to focus just on behavior because I've listened to you speak. I've learned so much about what you do and from you.
Thank you.
Because I have a different science background.
Yes.
And when I listen to you, I'm always like, I had no clue. I didn't know anything. Like when you told me that Ozempic, which many people use, is a peptide and that you teach about peptides and you were talking, I was like, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
So this conversation, I'd like to just take a turn for you to share with people a little bit about your expertise, which is not just in behavior change.
No, definitely
because
not.
One of the things, like some children I work with or some people take medication. And that medication, I think, should not be used in isolation.
Right.
Medication is not the be-all, end-all solution because you take that away. And what is left? Your old habits, your old ways of thinking, which lead you back down the exact same trajectory. So when you're on medication, if you're taking medication, this is an incredible opportunity to engage in changing your thought patterns, changing behavior patterns, understanding whether that be trauma or understanding your story, rewriting your story while you have that support, if that is a support that you will choose. And not everyone will choose that support.
Absolutely.
But I really am a firm believer that medication shouldn't be the solution, but should be a tool in someone's toolbox to use towards reaching their goals, if and when that particular approach would be most beneficial. So I'd love for you to speak a little bit about that through your scientific lens.
Yeah, so I use that phrase, that exact phrase. It is a tool in your toolkit all of the time, because what I don't do is I actually refuse people who just want something like a shot mill, where it's like, I'm taking a shot weekly and I don't need to change the way I eat. I don't need to change the way I move. I don't need to change the way I supplement or nourish my body. I need to change nothing. I can still have the habits that I really don't like about myself or my life. I can still have those habits, and I can, lose weight with this shot, and then I'm going to gain it all back. Then I'm going to be unhappy. So I actually can't work with clients that aren't open to a 360 approach, because sometimes you can be doing everything right. You can be working out many times a week. You can be strength training and doing cardiovascular training, and you can be stretching, and you can be nourishing your body with whole foods, and you can be counting your macronutrients. But your body physiologically and biologically is in such a state of stress that you cannot shed weight, or you cannot calm your mind to sleep appropriately and have the right sleep hygiene, or whatever issue someone is struggling with. So we take everything at a 360-degree approach, which is why I love that I could come here and talk about behavior change. And so something that we rely heavily upon is, a lifestyle audit and a food audit to understand what's the baseline and then build from that baseline. But when we do lab testing and we find a deficiency, we don't see it as a weakness that someone might need to take a peptide or a weight loss injection. We actually think it's an amazing tool and a solution to get their body to a new state of homeostasis. So when we're, young, we have our, homeostasis where all of our cellular structures, all of our mitochondria are firing on all cylinders. We hear a lot about NAD peptide or BPC peptide. Everything is humming along. You're at 100%. You're feeling good. If you have a weekend where you slipped up, you can be quote unquote good for 2 days in your 20s. And boom, you've lost whatever weight you may have gained over the last couple of days. So as we age, our levels of all kinds of things deplete. So we have naturally occurring peptide receptors in our bodies. We have naturally occurring peptides in our bodies. Those are basically short chain amino acid chains. So proteins are really long chains and peptides are short chains. And so something like a BPC or a GLP, the glucagon-like peptide, that controls how full we feel. That controls our metabolism. That controls our insulin sensitivity or our insulin resistance. And so as we age, if our naturally occurring glucagon-like peptide in our body is depleted, well, our brain doesn't understand when we're full. And our insulin is struggling to metabolize the foods in our body. And as a result, can't metabolize well enough, we gain weight. So if we need to introduce a peptide into someone's routine, that's totally cool. But it has to be around systems, around habits. So, we tell people, don't rely on willpower, use systems. For example, I deal with the evening snackage problem quite a bit. And so with every individual, it's different. And so we need to help someone find a system that prevents them from sitting on that couch watching their favorite show on Netflix and opening up that pantry. So, for example, if that was something that you struggled with, I don't know, I'm just saying, if you did, and let's say you, instead of texting your friend the 3 gratitude things, every day after dinner, go outside in the beautiful Florida weather, forget every other responsibility and go for a 20-minute walk. Call your friend and say, here's my gratitude list for the day. Let's chat. So if you do that consistently for a few weeks, you will forget that habit of I'm going to sit on the couch and I'm going to eat it.
You break a behavior chain.
You break a behavior chain. So use those systems. So for example, if someone is looking to, introduce gratitude, but they don't have a time or a place, write a sticky note on your mirror. And when you brush your teeth, read the sticky note. I'm grateful for A, B, C, D. That is your list. It took no extra time. You just have a system in place where you know where it is, you know what you're doing while you're doing it, and you're just saying the gratitude affirmations or manifestations. So that's kind of the first thing. And so the second thing is I always say, make it easy to start or to swap or to do something. So for example, in the morning, if you want to work out, as an example, if you lay out your workout clothes on the floor and you can't step over them, you're going to step on them, and you fill your
fall
and you fill your water bottle for the next morning's workout right beside your bed. You're going to feel pretty crummy if you don't put on those clothes and you don't get out and do that workout.
That's true.
So making it so obvious that it's easy to start, or adding so much friction that you actually can't do it. So there's actually a study in Google. So Google has like the best catering and food for their employees. Okay. So I was actually shocked. When I went to Google, I was like, what do you mean this is free? What do you mean? I could eat all this candy, all this trail mix, like everything all day. So can you imagine having like bowls of candy open? You just pass by and you're like, I'm just casually grabbing this
M&M. Course.
Nothing happened. So what happened? So they were running out of M&Ms like it was nobody's business. Like the bowl was depleting. Okay, everyone loves a good M&M.
Of course.
Of course. What did they do? They put a lid on that very same jar. Oh. And because of the friction of someone, instead of just being able to grab or spoon into a little cuppy your beautiful M&Ms, you would have to make noise. You would have to lift the lid, put it down, get a cup, one extra tiny step of getting that lid off of that M&M jar, and that M&M jar stopped depleting so quickly.
It made you, there's like that theory, the 3-2-1 theory.
Mm-hmm.
It made you stop and you have that like moment
of friction
to think. Like the impulse control was created through a barrier.
Yes.
Whereas if it's just easily, like in classrooms sometimes they have kids, like little kids sit down and they have the shelves of toys directly behind the kids.
Yes.
I'm like, how do you expect these children
to
refrain from grabbing those toys and just playing with them and listening to you talk about what day of the week it is or whatever, which they're like, but there's
the
a
toy.
car. There's a car right here. I love cars, and I'm going to take a car.
Yeah.
I was like, you cannot just like leave it there. They're going to grab it. They have no impulse control.
100%.
And if I am stressed or I'm on the go, which I've done probably a million times, instead of like going to my kitchen and making a meal, I'll go into my pantry and take what's easy.
Right.
And so if it becomes less easy, there's a barrier for me to stop and think, why don't I go to the fridge and get the blueberries instead?
Yeah.
Wash them.
Yeah.
Have them pre-washed as an extra step.
So it's either creating friction or removing friction. So if you're washing your berries
every time,
and they're fresh and beautiful, and you can literally scoop some up, and you have hidden your snack of choice, Oreos, M&Ms, whatever sweet thing it is, or for me, it's chocolate-covered almonds.
Ooh.
I know. They're evil.
They're evil because you could eat the entire bag and be like, what? What did that happen?
I don't understand. So I actually put my chocolate-covered almonds, firstly, I'm short, so in a place where
all 5 feet of me.
Yeah. So I'll take off my shoes later. We're the same height.
Yeah. I had no idea.
So I place them up top in the back of a shelf in my pantry. So I have to either put on really high heels or climb the table or something to get to these goddamn almonds. And sometimes I have to because I have to. But 90% of the time, I will not. And so for me, when I chat with people, I'm like, what is a source of friction that you could create on this habit that you hate? And what is a source of removing friction from something you want to do? If you want to nourish your body in a healthy way and you need more vitamin C, cut up that orange and have it ready for you instead of something else, right? So for me, that's a really important one. And then I am a big tracker. I like to write everything down. I'm old school. I see you have a notebook with a pen. I like to write things down. I like to track things. And having a successful tracker can actually rewrite your own narrative. If you look down on your page and you see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all week, you have check marks against that habit. Instead of saying, let's say you want to pick up running. Instead of saying, I'm not a runner, you look at that page and you're like,
I ran.
Damn, I'm a runner. What? How did that? And so that starts to change your narrative. So tracking can not only help with progress, tracking can help with your internal reinforcements. Yes. So for me, I really am someone like, I love what you talked about from an accountability coaching perspective, because I like to be that accountability coach so that I can point out those wins so that people can start to shift their narrative because of potentially some of the things that I say to them that stick with them instead of the negative thoughts. So
because it's so much easier to find all the failures, like to look at the tracking sheet and be like, oh, but you see that day?
Yeah.
That day wasn't a good day. Yeah. You didn't do it.
Right. But then I'll turn it around.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Have you ever heard of the lollipop theory?
I don't know. Tell me and I'll tell you.
So there's a theory it's called the lollipop theory because of how it came about. Basically, there was a guy and he was talking about how he met his wife. And he had someone was walking through and he was handing out lollipops. And he actually noticed this man loved the girl across the hallway. So the man handing out lollipops was like, you love her. Give her this lollipop and just finally ask her out on the date. And you'll see you're going to change the rest of your life. So he's like, okay, just did what he was told. Grabbed the lollipop, went up to the girl, asked her out. A few years later, they were married, children, love, all the things. And he said, when that man gave me that lollipop and gave me the courage to go up to that woman, the way I felt was like Superman. And so the lollipop theory is it's not necessarily what people do, but it's what they say to you and how you feel from what they say to you that makes all the difference in the world. So that lollipop theory is sometimes you'll say something that you will never even think about a second time in your life. And that sentence will stick with whomever for the rest of their lives, and it can change their life. So
in a fantastic way or yes, it's so true. I end trainings often saying people won't remember what you said necessarily, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
That's like the Maya Angelou.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes they remember exactly what you said and how it made them feel.
Well, look at the guy who told me I was fat.
Yes.
Bro.
And we've all had multiples of those. But then you'll also have, I think about teachers in my life or people in my life. And I won't remember exactly what they said, but I'll remember the impact it made in my heart and the way it made me feel about myself or about the world or whatever.
Yep.
It might have just changed something small.
So good.
And it makes a world of a difference. It can make a life-changing, in this case, clearly life-changing.
Huge.
Difference. And it's, for us to all also be really mindful of what we say.
The things we say.
Especially when we're speaking to children. Because, as parents, they say our words become their inner voice.
Oh, yes.
Which is a horrible thing to think about. All the things I might have said that become an inner voice. When you learn all these things, especially in my field, you're like, all the ways I've messed up my children. Fantastic.
So I feel that way too. It's so funny. So you did this incredible Instagram reel with your daughter where you had all the quotes of I brought you into this world and I can. And she said something lovely like, give you hugs forever. Or she said all the most beautiful things. And I was like, I'm going to try this with my children. They said all of the quotes. They said every single one.
They might have also been older to know the quotes.
15 or whatever.
Yes,
but,
they know the quotes.
They might know the quotes. But I was like, I have ruined my children. I brought you into this world and I will take
you out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just like, oh God, did I say that? How do they know that?
But you know what's like crazy is when you listen to your kids speak and you're like, oh, that's me. Like I hear my tone or I hear the words and I'm like, and they're speaking to each other and I'm like, oh, that's not good. Thank you. Thank you for teaching me for like letting me hear myself from the side. It's horrible sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes it's beautiful.
Sometimes it's lovely.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm doing okay. And sometimes
but
it's like,
isn't it interesting that the negative things stick with you?
Yes.
It's interesting because I know.
Dr. Amen talks about that.
I know. I love him.
Me too.
So it's funny because as you said that, I say certain things like, facetiously, I'll say if something bad happens, I'll be like, "Oh, that's lovely," and I hear Mia saying like, "Oh, that's lovely." I'm like, "Oh my God, she's doing it," or I'll say something like, "Oh, that's fan-freaking-tastic," like I'll just say that, and then I hear it from them. So I wish I heard something. I wish I could recall hearing something that I would say positively. Like I say things like progress over perfection and all that stuff, but they don't repeat that.
But maybe they do, just not in front of you.
Maybe.
And
I'm
not maybe.
They're internalizing it.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
My daughter was struggling with something the other day. Mm-hmm. And I said, what do challenges teach you? What do they bring you? Because I know this is really hard. And she said, progress. And I said, okay, yes, that's part of it.
Yeah.
I said, but it also gives you an opportunity to learn. I said, and growing and learning is hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, when she said the answer, I really was not expecting her to say it. And with like such like annoyance. Like, I know this is fine. This is okay. Yes. This is good for me.
Yes.
But like it hurts. It's like bothering me that I have to go through this, which is like, I get that. Yeah. I really get that.
And sometimes we have to sit in the discomfort too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. But yeah, I mean, I'll say things like, my kids are very dramatic. They're like super smart kids. And, they'll say things like, oh my God, I failed at this. And I was like, what do I always say? And they're like, first attempt and learning.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, it is. You can't be perfect at everything all the time.
And I use examples of like Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Where I'm like, and his quotes are, I remember having a student that I worked with who was obsessed with basketball, but he didn't want to try anything with a fear of failing.
Right.
And I had him do an entire research project on Michael Jordan.
Perfect.
Because to me, Michael Jordan's my favorite athlete of all time. And we had a whole debate about whether he's really the GOAT. And I was like, he really
he's the GOAT.
is.
Number 23. Come on.
Yes. My daughter's name is Jordan. And my other daughter's born on his birthday. So I'm like, God. I'm just like, I'm the ultimate fan.
You are the ultimate fan.
MJ, one day I want to meet you.
He should come on the podcast.
Oh my God. Because imagine all the conditioning he's had to do in his life.
It's true.
But have you watched The Last Dance?
I have not.
Oh my God, you need to watch it. Okay, I've watched it probably too many times because Ronan watches it on repeat. So I will walk in and it's on. But it's his story, his narrative.
I gotta watch it with Marky.
His motivation is I gotta win. Like I'm here to win. And if I don't win, I'm going to figure out how to win the next one. Like, I'm here to win. I'm not going to lose. And I'm going to make all of you work because we're a team. And it's all about the way we speak to ourselves. And so Dr. Amen talked, I remember teaching mindfulness years ago at an Ivy League school and bringing in this concept of positive thoughts and negative thoughts and how we have all these automatic negative thoughts. Our ants, and he calls them ants and pets.
Yes.
And so our ants are like, they're easy. They come.
Yeah.
And they're always going to be there. And it's like, how do we counter those? How do we learn to redirect?
Redirection.
And so important. In the end, our ants are often invisible behavior. There are things happening inside of us all the time, but they're not things that other people necessarily hear unless we say them out loud.
Right.
So that's internal behavior that we have to work on, which is probably the hardest work.
It is the hardest. And that's why it actually is good to have, whether it's me as a coach or you or, a sister, a friend, it doesn't matter. If you can release safely in a safe place some of those ants that are going on inside, people can help you break those because, as when I was younger, God forbid did I share that I was, feeling fat or that I was, not happy or confident in my own body. Like I would never talk about that. And, coming from my background, like we don't really talk about that stuff. We don't talk about, therapy or mental health or feeling any which way because, we don't feel things. We just move through life kind of thing.
Yeah. You compress that, shove it into a little package inside of you and keep going.
It doesn't even exist. Correct. Right? So it really helped me open up when I trusted myself enough to share. And then I had people in my life that I felt safe enough to share with. And so that is something that I am so passionate about bringing it with any of my hires at Health Collective, with myself. Like I need people to trust that they're in a safe space. They can share anything and everything and there is no judgment. And it really is about the opportunity to change their narrative and for them to help themselves. And if I can help anyone in even the smallest way, I feel like I've done my job.
Well, actually, safety is a foundation to learning because you cannot learn if you're in fear or if you're in deep sadness because your nervous system is dysregulated and so your brain is not open to learning.
It's the same with weight.
Yes.
Yes.
And like the same with sleep, the same with everything. Jinx. It is so true.
Yeah.
And, I was just talking about this on another podcast about how our environment is really not conducive to a regulated nervous system.
It's not.
And so, when I think about like cortisol or I think about just like stress in general or, when I moved, immigration is really stressful.
It's really stressful.
And really hard. And when I moved, I remember thinking like, I'm going to move. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm going to shed any extra weight. I'm going to be in the sunshine state. I'm going to. Yeah, no, that's not exactly how it happened.
That's not.
And I remember speaking to my doctor and him being like, what's your stress level like? And I was
the
like,
roof.
I started crying.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I'm really struggling with my stress. He's like, well, let's start there.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
It's
and
true.
It's very true. But that's the truth for all change.
All change.
And I think it stems from making a decision. It stems from deciding that I'm going to create the space and belief that I can.
You have to want it more than you fear it.
Yes. And then creating an environment or a time in an environment because it can't be like, I'm not going to live like a Buddhist monk because I'm not one. I'm not going to be, in regulated silence because if I were in silence, I would not be regulated all the time. But I would not be able to manage that way. I don't live in an environment that allows for that.
Absolutely.
Nor do I think that's something I would want necessarily, but I can provide myself with opportunities for that.
Yeah.
And create a change in your story.
Absolutely.
To create behavior change.
Absolutely.
So you change your belief, you make a decision, you change your story, and then you then create patterns of behavior with your habits.
So
and
important.
If you need a tool based on scientific research, which is something I love that you do, that you don't just throw out like, hey, you're struggling to lose weight, here's something. It's let's do blood work.
Yeah, let's evaluate.
Let's do a test to figure out what's going on inside so that I can guide you on what is actually the best option for you and your body.
For you specifically, right?
Correct.
And so that's why we work with so many people who feel gaslit by their physicians because their physicians say, well, everything's normal, it all looks fine.
Oh my God.
But then you open up the aperture and you start looking deeply into what someone in your position, with your stress level, with your inflammation level, with your habits, with your lifestyle, with your number of children, and suddenly something might not look so normal. And that needs to be addressed and dealt with as well. And so even like from a weight loss perspective, I share with a lot of people, like, there are not only are there internal stressors and external stressors, there are toxins in the environment. The social media aspect of us sometimes doom scrolling right into the early hours of the morning.
Yep.
All of that, our body is in such a state of stress, and we've all kind of heard of fight or flight. It thinks we're running away from a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
Honestly, the body is like, oh my God, I need to fight or flight. I'm running. And think about it. If in prehistoric times you were running from something, you didn't know where you were going to get your next meal, and you had just eaten a day ago. If you're running and you're in high stress, your body is doing everything it can to protect and extend your life.
Yeah.
So if you're running and you don't know where your next meal is coming from, what do you think your body is doing?
It's storing fat to be able to protect you.
Yeah. So if you are in high stress and your inflammation level and your cortisol level and your toxins in your body think that there's a saber-toothed tiger and you don't know when you're not going to eat next, it's preserving. Your body is biointelligent.
Mm-hmm.
It is preserving everything that it possibly can to exist and to continue life. And so what I tell everybody is the second that we let go of the cortisol, the second we let go of the inflammation, the second we are actually feeling like we're safe and we can be in rest and digest, well, we're going to be digesting and we're going to be in lipolysis. We're going to be shedding fat. But you can't get there sometimes without the right tools. And if that tool is a glucagon-like peptide, a GLP, that will reduce your inflammation, or if that tool is something for your cellular structure or anxiety, we need those tools so that our body can say, oh my gosh, I can take a break. I can rest. I can digest. I can relax. I know where the next meal is coming from. And you know what? I don't need this weight. I don't need this water retention. I don't need this inflammation. I am fine. And once your body says I am fine, then your head will say I am fine. And once your head says I am fine, your body will say I am fine. So it's a circular reference almost.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you for leaving us with that. That was very meaningful. If people want to reach out to you because they're like, wow, this woman is brilliant, because she is, and I think she could really help me, how could they reach out to you?
Oh my gosh, for sure. Well, you can look up our website, healthcollective.us. You can find me on social, healthcollective_USA or Nicole Pekerman. And honestly, feel free to reach out anytime. Our phone numbers and all our contact details and our emails are readily available. And also, you guys can listen to the Healthy Pod if you want to learn anything. So thank you so much. I've learned a lot today. So I appreciate you. And I am so happy because we met and I love you already. So thank you.
Me too. I always end asking if there's something you'd want to ask as a question or a thought you want to leave for the listeners to sit with or to ask themselves. Do you have something you want to leave them with to think about?
So I would urge everybody listening to ask themselves what it is that they want and start to put together a blueprint for that action, starting with rewiring your internal narrative and focusing on gratitude. Write a list of 3 to 5 things that you're grateful for. And I promise you, if you are consistently repeating that list, memorize it. If you consistently repeat it, in 6 months, you're going to be a different person. So that's what I would prompt everyone to try and do.
Well, I'm going to start doing that. So
Yay.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Nicole.
you. This is so fun.
Oh my God. Jinx again.
Jinx again. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.